are super excited. We're super excited today to kick off this call, and we've invited Sabrina Bonaiuto to join us. We are super excited because she is an Ayurvedic health counselor. Sabrina is also one of our top-ranking wellness advocates in dōTERRA. She's hit the rank of platinum, and she's very passionate about the products. And I know a lot of you have seen the TMAT post, but for those of you who have not, I'll go ahead and give her a little bit of an introduction so that way you can get to know her before we turn the time over. But we are very excited because in Ayurvedic medicine and health is very influential and important to India, and it's something that I'm excited to learn more about. And she is a Ayurvedic health counselor. She's also a 500-hour yoga teacher, and she's got a background in health psychology. She's also super passionate about introducing people to holistic health solutions while keeping it super simple, sustainable, and most importantly, fun, which is what we love to do in dōTERRA. And although Sabrina is passionate about all realms of health, she's especially motivated to help individuals with their mental health. She began her holistic healing journey in college after battling lifelong anxiety, and during her first yoga teacher training, she was introduced to the wisdom of Ayurvedic medicine, and she slowly started to integrate these practices into her daily routines. And then years later, she hopes to gift others with this ancient gift in conjunction with dōTERRA. So it's going to be super awesome. This is a call that everybody here will not want to miss. Make sure that your mics are muted, and make sure that if you see any team members that are not on this call, make sure you invite them to jump on so they can hear this in person. But we'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Sabrina.
Thank you so much for that introduction, by the way. That was so sweet. Let me share my screen with you all to get this kicked off. And first of all, this is definitely the biggest group that I've ever taught Ayurveda to, and I feel so blessed. And I'm even more blessed that it's my dōTERRA family because I feel so supported. I'm nervous, don't get me wrong, I'm a little nervous, but most of all, I'm excited and I feel supported, and it wouldn't be that way if it weren't for the culture that dōTERRA has. So thank you for being here. All right, let me get myself situated with our mat. There we go. All right, so my name is Sabrina, as Andrew introduced me, and I'm going to be giving you an introduction to Ayurveda. We can actually skip right over this introduction to myself because Andrew did such a great job of kind of encapsulating what I'm about. I do have my Instagram there, though, if anyone wants to connect with me outside of here, or if there's anything specific that you would like to learn about, feel free to connect with me. So what you can expect from today's call is an introduction to Ayurveda, the benefits of dōTERRA opening up in India, some product education, and some simple and effective health routines that you can adopt not only for yourself, but you can pass on to maybe your leaders, but also your customers as well. So before we really kick this off, I want to ground all of us, myself included, with some prayers that I have as I was putting this together. My prayer for us is to feel supported and equipped with knowledge that we can inspire others with, even if it's as simple as one fact or one healthy habit that we learned today. My prayer is that we are not overwhelmed, but that we continue to be curious students. I still have questions all the time about this stuff. My prayer is that we collectively resist Ayurveda or health in general as becoming a legalistic or unsustainable practice that has to be perfected, right? This isn't about perfection. And to remind ourselves as leaders that we are not called to be perfect and to have all of the answers, but that we are called to learn and heal with grace and then share that with the world. That's what we do, right? So what exactly is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is the world's oldest health system in which all others are built upon, including Chinese medicine. There's even some stuff within our modern healthcare that we see today that if we really were to trace it back, we'd be like, wait a second, that has Ayurvedic principles to it. And the really special part about it, especially pertaining to this call, is that Ayurveda originated in ancient India 5,000 years ago. And that's really just as far back as we have record of. I'm sure it was way longer than that. Ayurveda supports that our bodies are a reflection of nature. Therefore, nature has the ability to bring us back to balance and heal us through our diet and through our lifestyle. And what I'm really excited about, the fact that I'm talking to my doTERRA friends about this, is like, this is not foreign to you at all. You know this, you know that nature has the ability to do these things. With Ayurveda, it acknowledges root healing and the root cause of whatever it is that we're dealing with. It's looking at our body, our mind, our senses, taking care of our senses, taking care of our soul, right? All of these things create a healthy, balanced lifestyle. It's not just one way. And then also for those of us who are also interested in yoga, Ayurveda is yoga's sister science. So you'll see a lot of commonalities between yoga and Ayurveda. And also too, the word Ayurveda in and of itself is kind of fun. So it's Ayurveda, and Ayur translates to science or wisdom. And then Veda translates to life. So if you were to translate the word Ayurveda, Ayurveda means the science of life. And you'll notice too that there's Sanskrit in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word. It's literally a different language. And so definitely grace yourself as you're learning about Ayurveda. There's some words that I'm still like, wait a second, what the heck does that mean? And I have to go back to my texts and remember it. So don't get caught up in that. Just get caught up in how beautiful it is that we're even able to learn about this ancient wisdom and share it. So this is so exciting to share, just the passion behind why it's such a big deal that doTERRA is opening up in India. You just heard me say that Ayurveda stems from India, the oldest healthcare system in the world. And so as I was praying on this and putting this presentation together, I just kept coming back to this idea that doTERRA is bringing healthcare home, where it is so desperately needed. And it's unfortunate to say that in a place that has so much potential and so much healthcare was stemmed from, that's where in our world, one of the places in our world that needs it the most these days. India has fought so many battles and continues to as one of the world's poorest countries. And just for context and relevancy for right now, the number of poor in India is estimated to have increased by 75 million just because of the COVID-19 pandemic alone, accounting for nearly 60% of the global increase in poverty, according to Asia Times. So this is a fact that, again, as I was putting this together, I was like, why am I not talking about this more? So it was such a gift for me to even put this presentation together. So there's been a war on Ayurvedic medicine for a really long time. In the late 19th century, the British began ruling over India, banning all Ayurvedic practices in an attempt to solely practice allopathic medicine. And people started really worshiping modern medicine at this time. And at the same time, Ayurvedic clinics were being shut down, burned to the ground. Ancient texts were burned so that way there was no more record of Ayurveda practices. And healing hands were cut off. So these corrupt British rulers would literally cut off the hands of Ayurvedic healers so they weren't able to do what they were doing in healing people in the ways that they were healing people. And these are, Ayurvedic doctors and practitioners who have studied and have done so much work. And it's, I bring this all to light to share because I think it's important to understand the fight that has been going on ever since then, right? And I know this is a conversation for another time, but in many ways, we're seeing this type of spiritual warfare, if you will, within our healthcare system today. So Ayurveda very quickly became kind of this underground practice in an effort to stay compliant and keep up with the government that was ruling at that time in India. And then there was a Renaissance period. And so I'm a woman of God. And so I believe that, God's going to use whatever the enemy makes for evil and he'll turn it to good, right? So there was this Renaissance period of Ayurvedic medicine by the mid 20th century. When the British left India, the nation began to embrace their past traditions once again. And soon after that, Ayurvedic scholars began venturing over to the West to share their wisdom. So this is when Ayurveda and yoga and a lot of holistic healthcare practices started coming over to other countries. And currently, India practices both allopathic and holistic medicine, which is a blessing, right? We honor integrative medicine. We honor that there is a time and a place for modern medicine. And so that was actually a gift for India, for that to happen in the long run. So the beauty is that holistic healing is not foreign to India. Access to high quality essential oils, though, and health supporting products, that is foreign to India and many places in India. So now we'll really be getting into the fun stuff in regards to Ayurveda. Now, I just want it to be so clear. I know I already said this, but I just want to make it so clear that my goal is to not overwhelm you. It's to have fun with learning a new thing. I learned about Ayurveda like 7 years ago for the first time, and I continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so if you're just starting for the first time, even hearing this word, meet yourself where you're at. Meet yourself where you're at. So we're going to talk a lot about the 5 elements. So Ayurveda supports that our bodies are a reflection of nature and that we are comprised of 5 major elements. And these elements are ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And then along with those elements, each of those elements have different qualities. And so there are different qualities that we see on earth, right? And so as I'm going through these 20 common qualities, you'll notice that some of these qualities you might see show up in your physical symptoms or your mental symptoms or just out in nature. And that's the point, is to recognize where these qualities are showing up in our lives, in our health, and in nature. So we have heavy, dull or slow, cold, oily, smooth, dense, soft, static or stable, gross or big, slimy, cloudy, sticky, light, sharp, hot, dry, rough, liquid, hard, subtle, and clear. And so we are all a combination of the 5 elements and the 20 qualities. However, we have varying amounts depending on our unique mind body type or dosha. So an easier way to remember dosha is your mind body type. Some people like to think of it as biological humor or constitution. And now I wish someone told me this when I first learned about Ayurveda, because I was very confused. I was like, I don't know if I buy this stuff. Like, I don't think that I have dirt in me, and I don't think that I have fire in me. Like, what's going on? And so I had to learn that it's not in a literal sense. It's in a sense of, say that you have a very sharp digestive system where, you digest very well. You have more heat in your body, and so you have that fire element. It doesn't mean that you're literally burning fire in your body, which I'm a very literal person. I had a hard time understanding that. Okay, so what exactly are the 3 doshas? So we have vata, pitta, and kapha. So vata's elements are air and ether. Pittas are fire and water. And then kapha is made up of water and earth. So what is your dosha, and does it actually matter? So I always tell people, yeah, it matters. Like, you'll learn about that over time, but it's a little bit of a disservice to just think of like you as being one thing and putting yourself in a box, because the elements and the qualities of all the doshas show up in different symptoms that we may have within our health or different situations that we're in outside in nature. So I always say focus on the elements and qualities instead of obsessing so much over the doshas, and focus on how these elements and qualities show up daily in your food, your physical and mental symptoms, your weather patterns around you, and then most importantly, have fun with it. So we're going to go on to go through each individual dosha, and I just want you to have fun with it. Be like, oh, wait, that sounds familiar. That sounds like me. Or you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like my spouse when he gets imbalanced, or whatever it is. Have fun with it, and just get excited to learn. So first talk about vata dosha. So as I said, the elements of vata dosha are ether and air. The qualities, it's dry, light, cold, subtle, rough, and mobile. The season that we see vata kind of taking over is late fall, early winter. So, or even kind of late into the winter time. And so think about it. You see those qualities in winter. In wintertime, we see dryness. We see more cold happening generally. We see a roughness. We see mobility. There's a lot of wind sometimes in the winter, right? And then the function of vata is movement and communication. The time of life is typically in our wisdom years, 60 plus. Again, the qualities come up again, maybe having more sensitive skin, being a little bit more dry, more light, more cold. And the time of day that vata kind of rules over, if you will, is 2 to 6. So 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm not going to go too much into the Ayurvedic clock thing because I, again, don't want to overwhelm anyone, but that is something in itself that could really shift the way your productivity levels if you're just looking at the different times of day and what works best for you for like when you work or whatever. See, I'm already starting to go into it, so we're not going to. All right, vata dosha archetype. So when it comes to the doshas, you can have a physical expression of them, but also more of a mental and emotional expression. So the physical expressions of vata, typically they are more lighter boned, lighter muscled, long, straight frame, cool hands, always cold feet. Like they're the people that are saying they're cold all the time, even when it's hot outside. Typically small, fine features and irregular features. It's typically hard to gain weight, but easy for them to lose weight. Their digestion is irregular. So when you think of vata, think of irregular. Lots of things are irregular with vata. They eat fast, they move fast, they talk fast, they're light on their feet. They're the person in the grocery store. I'm going to use the grocery store as an analogy here to explain each dosha. They're the person in the grocery store that goes with no list. They're like flying by the seat of their pants. They have no idea what they need, and they're probably going to forget half of what they went there for. The mental emotional expression is that they are enthusiastic, they're social, they're creative, they're innovative. Vata loves variety, and so they're incredibly adaptable. So the vata dosha tends to learn quicker but forgets very easily, so they need lists and they need reminders to keep them on task. And then typical vata imbalances. So physical imbalances, just having excess dryness, cracked skin, dry nails and hair, gas, bloating, constipation, back pain, nerve pain, twitches, things like that. And then mentally not being able to sleep, having that really high mobility of the mind at night is typically a vata imbalance, not just for vata people, okay, just vata in general. The inability to focus, feeling scattered and restless, talking fast, losing their train of thought, fear, anxiety, nervousness is typically associated with the vata dosha, and then feeling ungrounded or lonely and isolated. And then moving into the second dosha, which is the pitta dosha. I'm kind of a poster child for pitta dosha, so I can completely relate to almost everything I'm about to talk about, and maybe you will be able to too. So the elements of pitta is they have a lot of fire and water in them. So their qualities typically more oily, sharp or penetrating. So again, they have a sharp, quick digestion system usually. Light, hot, malodorous, liquid. These are just the qualities that may show up. The season for pitta is summer and early fall. So think about it, that fire, it's hot. So summer, early fall. The time of life is usually your active middle years. You don't have to put like a number on exactly what age, but just your active middle years where you are, burning that fire, getting things in order for the enjoyment of your life, right? And then the time of day is typically 10 to 2. So AM to PM and then PM to AM. So the pitta dosha archetype, the physical expression is typically a medium-sized frame, muscular, oily, reddish skin, fine, oily hair, light, sensitive eyes, or an intense gaze. You know what a pitta's thinking by the way they look at you. They're the people that can like cut you with their eyes. They have a very strong digestive system. They speak very sharp, clearly. They have a confident voice. They walk with intention. So the pitta people are the people that go to the grocery store with a list that they made 2 days in advance, and they have it organized by the sections in the grocery store, and they know exactly where they need to go as they go in. They're very intentional with everything they do, and they're looking at that vata dosha like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So the mental emotional expression of a pitta is that typically when we feel competitive, there's a little bit more pitta going on within us. So when we're feeling more goal-oriented, organized, focused, disciplined, there's pitta in us, right? Courageous, inspired, passionate. These are some emotions and feelings that are with pitta dosha. Typically, people that have a lot of pitta within them learn very quickly and they have a decent memory. And then some ways that pitta becomes imbalanced is through skin rashes, hives, acne, sunburn, poison ivy, bug bites. So you see a lot of like redness, a lot of irritation, inflammation, lots of times is a pitta imbalance. Heartburn, that fire, sour burps, indigestion, burning, irritated, itchy, and bloodshot eyes. So I'm hoping that you're starting to see like the qualities showing up in some of the imbalances based on the elements with the doshas. And then the mental emotional imbalance of a pitta, when we're feeling angry or frustrated, especially if you have a lot of pitta in you, you might be a little bit more irritable, You might be. Overly competitive, overly critical, and sometimes judgmental, sometimes has a tendency to burn bridges. Now, this is not me saying that, like, okay, if you are pitta or if you're vata, this is what you're like destined to become. This is just what might happen if you are in a state of imbalance. And so a lot of the work that we do in doTERRA is helping people to find their unique state of balance. And so using doshas and using Ayurveda is just a way that we can do that. So lastly is kapha dosha. So kapha's elements are water and earth. The qualities are oily, cool, heavy, dull, slow, smooth, soft, and stable. The season that we see kapha is in the spring. So think about it. It rains a lot in the spring. You have that element of like mud, right? So it's like water and earth makes mud. That's a lot of what happens in the springtime, at least up here in upstate New York. The function of kapha is cohesion, lubrication within the body, and structure. So I want to pause here and say, like, this is especially why it's important to understand that all of the doshas play a role in your life, regardless of if you have more within your genetic makeup, right? Like if you didn't have any kapha in your system, for example, you wouldn't have any lubrication in your body. And that would be like that would be a problem. That would be a problem. The time of life for kapha is typically the early years. Think about how kids seem to have a lot of boogers and a lot of that kind of like mucusy stuff that their kids are kind of gross like that. Well, think about it. That's like water and earth, like that muddy, slimy consistency. And then the time of day is 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. The kapha dosha archetype, a physical expression, is they're more broad-framed, strong bones, muscular and curvy. They typically have smooth, cool skin, very thick, wavy hair, big, bright, dark eyes. It's typically easy to gain weight when you have a lot of kapha, but difficult to lose weight. They're steady. Sometimes they have a slow digestion, and then they walk pretty slowly. They have a low booming voice. They're chill. They go into the grocery store and like they don't have a list, but they're not freaking out about it. They're like they might be at the grocery store for like 3 hours and like it's fine. It's all good. Everyone needs a kapha friend, by the way. Everyone. The mental, emotional expression of kapha is working really well with routine and structure, even when we resist it. Um, Very steady, dependable, calm, and loyal. Very grounded and rooted. Kaphas are typically very generous, compassionate, and caring. They're slower to learn things, but they have an amazing memory. So some typical kapha imbalances physically, colds, congestion, coughs, spring allergies that happen in the kapha season or seasonal sniffles for the sake of being compliant, a heavy feeling in the stomach, weight gain, water retention, swelling, and puffiness can usually be because of a kapha imbalance. And then mentally and emotionally, feelings of depression, sluggishness, lack of motivation, attachment, greed, or kind of hoarding onto things is typically a kapha imbalance as well. And so take a deep breath. That was a lot, but all you really need to know is that like increases like and opposites bring balance. So just a simple example that I want to give to you, and you'll understand this, is when you're hot, you would bathe your feet in peppermint oil, maybe even coconut oil as well, right? Or cool water. We're not going to put our feet in oregano oil and hot water if we're feeling hot, right? That would just make it worse. And so think about that. Opposites bring balance. And that is just a very simple way that we can help ourselves and help our customers as well. Okay, so now we're moving into product education. I am so excited about this. And as I was putting this together, I do realize that not everything is available right away to the Indian market, but I do have faith that everything will be available soon. So I'm still going to educate on those things for sure. And you see here the word dinacharya. Dinacharya is Sanskrit for daily rituals. So in Ayurveda, there's this set of daily rituals that we are meant to follow to take care of our senses, because our senses is how we literally experience the world and how we experience life. And so if we are abusing our senses, then we're really not able to live as productive as a life or as fruitful as a life as we deserve to. And one really common way that, I'm so guilty of this myself is just like the fact that we're on screens all day long. Our eyes like need a break sometimes. That's why something like that is so important. So I'll be taking you through just a few daily rituals. Some of you might already be doing these things. And my intention is to keep this simple. And remember, you don't have to do all of this. Like, that's my biggest issue, if you will, with Ayurveda. And sometimes the way that Ayurveda is taught is that it's this very legalistic. You have to like do things in a certain way. And if you don't have a 2-hour morning routine, then you are destined to be unhealthy. And that's just not true. It can be simple and sustainable. And that is like all that I'm about. And I know that's what you're about too. So let's talk about the difference between herbs and doTERRA's essential oils. So with herbs, it's difficult for there to be high quality with the herbs because of the fact that they are so dried out. Whereas essential oils, at least doTERRA's, are highly concentrated and potent, and they're up to 70% more effective and more potent than herbs. With herbs, in order to really, really gain benefit, you're going to have to use a lot of them, especially even if they're high quality. And so it's not really that cost effective, whereas we know that essential oils are pennies per drop. So it's incredibly cost effective for our health. And then for herbs, generally we're using herbs to flavor our food, but it's not really highly bioavailable to the body. Whereas we know that essential oils have healing benefits, allowing there to be a high bioavailability for the body. And the reason that I'm talking a lot about herbs is because India is like all about the herbs, all about the herbs. They're using herbs already to heal. And it's very, very common over there to look at, herbal solutions before looking at modern medicine. So they're already with it in that way. So let's talk about turmeric. Turmeric is like the Ayurveda spice. And some of the benefits is that it offers natural tissue support, neurological support, cardiovascular support, and more. And so curcumin is the primary driver of turmeric's health benefits, yet only 3.14% of turmeric powder is actually curcumin, which stinks because a lot of people are out there using, these really expensive turmeric powders thinking that they're getting the best benefit, and they're not. And that's our job, right? Is to educate on that. And so also not only educating on the essential oil of turmeric, but on the dual chamber capsules of turmeric. I think my first convention was when these came out, and I was like, oh, I was so excited about it. So dual chamber capsules, they have both turmeric extract and turmeric oil in them. So the turmeric extract is one of the best nutritional supplements in existence because it contains curcuminoids. And then turmeric oil contains the chemical constituents turmerone, which helps your body absorb the curcumin, which we know is really, really important. So a recommendation for this is to take this 2 times per day or as needed. And then a pro tip as well here is that you can add pink pepper or black pepper when you are using turmeric. So pepper enhances the curcumin absorption, making it more readily available to be used by your body. You can also use it, of course, in your dishes and recipes as well. All right, tongue scraping. Who here is already tongue scraping? And it's like once you start tongue
Thank
scraping,
you.
you won't go back. You won't go back. All right, can everyone make sure that they're muted? Thank you. All right, so tongue scraping. Some of the benefits of tongue scraping is that it helps to remove toxins from the GI tract, which is deposited during the natural sleep process. So it's best to do first thing in the morning because of that reason. It's also great for immune system support. So you may have noticed that I believe it's on track 2 of the immune system wellness program. We have a tongue scraper and a copper tongue scraper, which is best because copper has antiseptic properties and is resistant to bacteria. So my recommendation, as I said, is to do it first thing in the morning. Gently pull the tongue scraper from the back of your tongue to the front about 5 to 6 times, rinsing in between. And like first thing, this is like one of the best things that we can do for our health. And it's so simple. It takes like 2 seconds to do. And then warm water. So warm water, some of the benefits is that it aids in the detoxification process while supporting overall digestion. And so think about it this way. We wouldn't clean our dirty dishes with cold water. We really wouldn't get anywhere if we had like crusty, gross dishes. Like it just won't work. But if we're using hot water, and even better, if we're using lemon oil and, the supportive cleaning products that doTERRA offers with that, we're actually going to be able to clean our dishes, right? And so starting the day with warm lemon water and continuing this throughout the day, or even room temperature water, is going to definitely help with our digestive system. I'm not saying that cold water is unhealthy by any means, but it might not be the most supportive, especially if you are dealing with a digestive issue. Other oils that you can add in, really any citrus oil, and ginger as well will help to stoke the digestive fire in the morning. Moving on to ginger oil. So some of the benefits of ginger oil, and this is, it was kind of hard when I was making this presentation to really like pinpoint, oh my gosh, like what do I want to talk about? So I picked the most common oils that I believe will be impactful for India specifically, and things that they would recognize. So some benefits is that it's a warming spice. It supports overall digestion. It supports congestion in the body, circulation, and it can also help with brain fog as well. And Indian dishes are especially known for incorporating ginger for healing benefits. So used in curries, in dals, just in khichdi, rice recipes, teas, and things like that. It's very, very common. Oil pulling is another really great daily habit, or even just a couple times a week, if that's what we're working with, that we can start to add in for our oral care. Some of the benefits is that it pulls unhealthy bacteria from the gums, helping to prevent tooth decay, helping with bad breath, strengthening the tissues of the gums, and even reducing sensitivity. It's also just really great for overall supporting our health and immune system as well, because we think about it, we know that everything goes in through our mouth or our nose, especially if we're talking about, airborne threats. So some recommendations here would be to use about a tablespoon of sesame oil or coconut oil. I personally like coconut oil because it has teeth whitening benefits as well, and I think it tastes better, but you work with whatever is best for you. And a drop of doTERRA's oil. You could swish this around for about 10 to even up to 20 minutes if you're feeling like that, but really don't need to go more than 10 minutes if you don't want to. And this will help a lot. Some of the supportive oils that you can use, though, is really any citrus oil. I personally usually go with lemon, mint, clove, cinnamon, tea tree, frankincense, and even on guard. Okay, and then dry skin brushing is great for lymphatic care. So some benefits is that it exfoliates the skin. Digestive support increases oil absorption. So if you are going to be applying your oils, it's really great to dry skin brush beforehand. Increases circulation and moves the lymph, which we know is so important to take care of our lymphatic system. So recommendation here is to perform before a shower or sometime in the morning, because it does aid with that circulation, before applying your oils. So you can do upward strokes towards your heart. And I would do 1 to 2 drops of whatever essential oil you would like to use on it. So some of the supportive oils would be Slim and Sassy, pink pepper, grapefruit, or even frankincense. And pink pepper is especially supportive for lymphatic congestion and candida overgrowth. So this is a great, great thing to do to support your body. And then as far as like getting your hands on like the tools like the dry skin brush or the tongue scraper, I would love to see doTERRA, wink wink, nudge nudge, down the line, have these tools available. But I mean, you can really get them anywhere. I always tell people, like, as long as it's 100% copper that you're using for the tongue scraper, and as long as the dry skin brush is gentle enough that it's not hurting you when you do it, then that's my recommendation. Okay, Abiyanga is an Ayurvedic word for self massage, which is also great for lymphatic care. And so the benefits of Abiyanga is that it nourishes the skin, going down deep into the tissues, helping to soothe the nervous system, offers immune support and pain management support as well. So a recommendation, if you were to do a full on Abiyanga, like a full on body massage, you would want to use 1 cup of a carrier oil, warm it up in your hands, and then you'll spend like about 5 minutes per major body part. So it's definitely a process. And this was where, when I first started learning about Ayurveda, I'm like, I don't have time to do that every single day. So don't. You can even do just, an area of need. If you're feeling tension in your shoulders, just rub out your shoulders or the bottoms of your feet at night. We already know the benefits of using oils on the bottoms of our feet. So using the carrier oil with some of the supportive oils, whether it's frankincense, lavender, balance, vetiver, copaiba, aroma touch, black spruce, marjoram, deep blue. These are just some of the oils that I would recommend for this. And then as far as what carrier oil to use, this will differ depending on your body type, depending on if you're looking for a more warming or cooling effect. And the body oils that doTERRA offers is great for this as well. So if you haven't already gotten your hands on it, I think it's still available. Definitely grab them. Okay, so now talking a little bit about digestive care in terms of nutrition. So Ayurveda is known for saying that lunch is the most important meal of the day due to the fact that it is the warmest time of the day. So the sun is typically the highest in the sky around noontime. And so our bodies are optimized for digestion. So we have the ability to really effectively digest a bigger meal. So that's just a really simple tip that we can do is incorporating a bigger lunch into our day, especially if we are dealing with a digestive imbalance. And then prepping your gut for digestive health. So, Ayurveda, we talk a lot about bowel movements. We talk a lot about digestion because the way that we digest our food is going to be correlated with how we are digesting our thoughts. We know that there is a connection between our brain and our gut. And so some recommendations are to take a drop of digestion supportive oils internally before your meals, just to prep your digestive system, or after your meals, rubbing on the stomach, taking the digestive supporting supplements, which you see some of them outlined right here for you. And then another really great practice is after eating, especially if you are eating a bigger meal or after lunch, is to lie on your left side. So in Ayurveda, we have this like terrible Ayurveda joke of calling it LSD. We're like, let's take some after lunch LSD, and we lay on our left side. You can rub in your supportive oils, and it really just helps to really prep the body for optimal digestion. Okay, Tulsi oil, also known as holy basil. I feel like I don't talk about this nearly enough for someone who is so weaved into the realm of Ayurveda. But some of the benefits, I actually have this diffusing right now in my office with me to keep me grounded, is it offers respiratory support and lung support. It's helpful for stress management, so really great for grounding. Offers digestive support, skin support, and really great for wound care as well. And Tulsi is actually native to India and is referred to the elixir of life in Ayurveda because they use Tulsi for just about everything. Tulsi is an adaptogen, and so it is going to adapt to whatever health priority that we are needing as we're using it. Okay, so we're wrapping up here, and I saved this for the end. That way you guys didn't log off before I got to this slide. But minimizing over snacking. And I say over snacking very intentionally because I'm not telling you not to eat your snacks because I love snacks. But in regards to digestive health, it's really, really good to give our body enough time to break down our food between our meals. So that's going to make sure that we have sustainable energy throughout the day. And, I call it the rice analogy here. So say that you were to have you were be making a pot of rice and it's already cooking on the stove, and you have a friend that asks if they can come over for rice because that's what all our friends ask for is for rice. And they come over, you just add more rice on top of the already cooking food. And then another friend is like, yo, you have some rice? And you're like, yeah. And then you add more rice on top of rice that's already cooking. You're never going to have fully cooked rice. And so that's essentially what's happening to our bodies when we are constantly shoving down the snacks all day long and kind of grazing throughout the day. Our body never has a chance to actually digest our food the way that it's meant to. So some supportive oils for this, along with the digestive oils, but Slim and Sassy, the soft gels, and the gum, and even grapefruit is helpful for stabilizing our blood sugar and reducing our sugar cravings throughout the day. Now, of course, listen to your hunger cues. Eating like an easily digestible snack. Fruit is a really, really great, easily digestible snack. If you are starting to feel like, I need something, like listen to that. I'm not telling you to starve yourself, but just be mindful. I know I need that reminder from time to time to stop shoving popcorn in my mouth. All right, spice it up. digestive health. People in India know their spices. So this is going to be like, I'm so excited for the people of India to get their hands on doTERRA's oils that are like the spice oils, if you will, that they can use for their cooking. I'm like, someone in India is going to come out with a recipe book. I'm calling it. So some recommendations here is raw and cold foods are typically difficult for most bodies to efficiently digest. Not all, but a lot of us have a hard time with that. And so cooking actually starts the digestive process, and using the warming spices with the cooking is really helpful as well. So these are just some of the oils that I have in the picture here, but using turmeric, basil, oregano, cinnamon, clove, rosemary, pink pepper, black pepper, ginger, and thyme is going to be really great. And I'm speaking for myself here. Like, as I'm looking at these oils, I'm like, gosh, I don't do enough educating on these oils. And so it really inspired me just to make this presentation to say, like, wow, like, get yourself in check and tell people more about rosemary, So if you get that too, like, awesome. I'm glad that we're kind of in this together with that. Okay, and then incense. So ditching the smoky incense. So a simple swap. In India's culture, they use incense a lot for their spiritual practices. And of course, I don't want to take away from that. But we know that there's an alternative that is healthier and safer for our bodies and our minds by switching to essential oils instead. So really educating on the fact that, hey, we have patchouli. You don't have to burn patchouli. We have patchouli, we have sandalwood and cedarwood and frankincense and rose and clary sage and whatever other common incense that are typically burned. And they can actually get benefits from it. So I always like to remind people of that. All right, so in closing here, wrapping up, I wanted to leave you with this message that the act of perfecting your lifestyle will lead to a further imbalance. And there's a quote by Dr. Vasant Lad, which, by the way, he is one of the Indian doctors who has really done a great job of bringing Ayurvedic medicine over into the West. He has a quote that says, knowledge of your personal constitution, so your personal makeup, is the key for holistic and integrative healthcare, the true basis of preventative medicine. I'm going to say that again. Knowledge of your personal constitution is the key for holistic and integrative healthcare. It's the true basis of preventative medicine. So I would love to keep in touch with you. Feel free to connect with me, whether it's over on social media. I did put my email right here as well, if you'd like to email me, if that's better for you. And I do offer virtual Ayurvedic consultations if there's anyone who's not directly in my area and would like a little bit more support with this. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, but thank you so much for this time. I cannot believe how fast that went by. And I'm opening up to any questions. If anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask, whether it's in the chat. Oh gosh, I have not keeping an eye on the chat here at all. But if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer if you want to unmute yourself as well.
Hey Sabrina, so maybe while a couple people formulate their question, I just want to say thank you. That was amazing, and you did such a great job just educating all of us. I knew a little bit, but that was so helpful and just useful as personally as I go to India and I start interacting with people that have this as a foundation of their past and their history, just to have those basics, so helpful. So thanks a ton for jumping on.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am,